Welcome back to another episode of the FTR podcast. As you can see, we're in a bit of a different surroundings.
Yeah, just a bit of change to jazz things up.
We'll see.
Would you care to explain where we are?
Why don't you explain?
Yeah, it's
considering
my house today.
Exactly, I was about to say, considering the environment, surely it makes...
Outfit.
You're just grabbing my leg.
I don't know why I wanted to grab this. We are surrounded by jelly cats.
Yeah, all of Jojo's wife's goodies all around. It looks a lot more homey.
Jelly cat, if you see this video, please sponsor us.
There's no chance in hell they will, but
I will love them to make a football top. You know, a jelly cat football top. That's what I will buy.
Okay.
It'll be, different.
Fair play. I mean, each their own.
But yeah, different scenario today, just because why not?
But nevertheless, make sure you please share, like, subscribe, all the goodies. Follow the Instagram. You know the rhythm and the rhyme. And you don't really even have to listen to much grime. Oof, I love that little rhyme right there.
Let's start.
Getting blown away by Giorgio. So, as usual, I think we'll go in chronological order. Ooh, zing!
We're probably going to talk about every single match because there's been a lot going on this week.
Good ones, good matches.
As usual.
I'm happy.
Let's talk about Brentford-Leicester. Expected from Brentford to win 4-1.
We expect them to be blown away, but I mean, obviously this is the first match after Steve Cooper's gone, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
you expected Leicester to show perhaps a bit more, but Brentford, they're a team who, at the moment, because everyone knows the tactics, everyone knows the rhythm and the rhyme of what, of what Thomas Frank does. The big teams won't really lose unless they do a poor performance, essentially. Therefore, when he comes up against these smaller teams, he has to pick up points. And, of course, when he comes up to a Leicester who don't have a proper manager yet, obviously, Rude is coming in, but he's not the manager.
I thought he was already in.
Yeah, but he wasn't in the dugout for this match. He was just in the stands because he didn't have time for a training session or anything.
No, yeah, of course, makes sense. But, no, I mean, Brentford has been playing quite well.
Oh, yeah.
So, I probably expected them to win. But not 4-1, but to win, at least 2-0.
Yeah, and the lad getting a hat-trick. First ever hat-trick.
Let's go.
Good on him. First ever career hat-trick. Of course, it is against a Leicester.
Yeah, but still.
Just like I mentioned last week, Leicester, even with Steve Cooper, did beat Spurs. Bear in mind.
It's not that hard.
I know, but I'm always going to bring it up. I brought it up last week, so I thought I'd bring it up again. But, of course, the way I look at it, I just think Leicester, it's not looking good. It's really not.
They're still 16th. They're still 1 point ahead of relegation.
Yeah, but look at the teams below them. Palace could go up above them. I think even a Wolves could climb. I hope so too. I mean, Ipswich have the potential to climb. They obviously got the draw with Man United, and
the draw with Man United.
Yeah, last week.
No, they lost against Man United 4.
It was 1-1. No, that's this week's match against Everton. We're talking about Ipswich here. Don't go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
You silly boy.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
Obviously they drew 1-1 against United. And I think with Ipswich, the key thing for them is home matches. But obviously we're not talking about Ipswich at the moment. But I just think Leicester have to pick up points now. It's either now or never, because other teams will climb above them, especially when they're playing against a Brentford. When you're not playing against the big honchos, you have to pick up points.
Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, good performance by Brentford, and, as you mentioned, first hat-trick in his career. So I think he deserves
a little round of applause, of course. Yeah. Let's say his name first. I can't remember it.
Shade.
Yeah,
Kevin.
Shade. Oh, big up,
Kevin.
Well done. He deserves that, definitely. And hopefully there's more to see from him.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully, how old is he? I don't know.
Let's find out.
Let's see. 23.
23, so still young.
Wow.
We can still see more from him. Wow. I always forget how old I am, and then it hits me. Like a ton of bricks.
Let's just move on. Crystal Palace, Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal Palace, yet again, just getting 1 point. It's They need to be winning matches, and I say this time and time again, and it's draw.
But again,
and it's always so close, and it's just frustrating. I can only imagine what those Palace supporters must be thinking, because I would be raging.
But they've played against Newcastle. Newcastle, yes, they've not been playing quite well as of lately, but still, you would expect Newcastle to win.
You would
in a match like that. You know, we've been talking about this for the past month. That Crystal Palace is just struggling, so you would expect them to win.
But the difference is, when you watch the Crystal Palace matches, yeah, they're struggling, but at the same time, they play well in the matches. They're just not getting it over the line. So obviously, it's not going to be an easy match, in my opinion, when you go up against Palace, especially at the moment. But you need to react when you're in the match, and that's when it comes down to Palace for me. Because who scored first? I'm going to assume
it was an own goal.
Own goal from Gahey. So already poor. And to come back in the 94th minute or whatever, it's really good, don't get me wrong. But what they're doing is they're showing that they have the ability to score, but they're not. Palace's expected goal in that match was 1.76. And I hate using the XG because I think it's just dumb, right? Most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. You never use them.
When you compare it, look at the shots. Like, obviously, we've got some stats up here. And we're just seeing all of Palace's 16 shots. Newcastle had 1.
Yeah, why do you think they've not scored that many? Because they had a lot of opportunities and nothing happened. So
I think
it's a lack of ability from the striker?
I think it's a mismatch. They sold Elise, who is a phenomenal player. And I've said it a couple of times on the podcast, but he's way better than Eze. He just is. Like, he's proven he is.
Where did he go?
Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So he left and went to a huge club, and he's been playing well there when he does play. But you need to try and replace him with another creative dribbler. They replaced him with Eddie Nketiah. I know they brought in Ismail Sarr too. Sarr's been okay, but bringing in Nketiah, it doesn't make any sense. Nketiah's a striker. They keep on playing him out wide. They have to drop him from the team time and time again. He's struggling because he's shown he's not good enough. It looks like we've absolutely robbed him as Arsenal. But I do think, from what they're showing, that they're close. They're like a step away. And if they just work perhaps 10% harder, and you have some players who start kicking into gear, I think they might win matches. And that's why I think Palace have a very good chance of staying up this year. But I think Glasner has to be careful, because I don't know what the board's like. I don't know what the fans are like too much.
When was the last time that they won in the Championship?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
But they've still, they kept being mid-table, so this is the first time they actually are playing quite poorly. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually go down.
Well, they've been there before with Vieira's manager. They looked like they were in a relegation scrap, and that's why they sacked him after Vieira had a first good season. So I think you've got to look at it, and you've got to say with Palace, I like it because they're showing that they do have a certain level of ambition, getting rid of a Roy Hodgson and bringing in exciting managers like your Vieiras. Then they have to bring in Hodgson again, and then they brought in Glasner. But it's about where you invest your money into too. And buying Eddie Nketiah, I understand for them it looked like, hey, that's a decent deal. If you're playing him up top, not out wide. Like, he's a striker. He's not a winger at all. I can tell you that, being an Arsenal supporter. I wouldn't trust him on the wing.
That says a lot.
I'd rather have his nan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fairs. But Newcastle, again, very poor. You would expect a lot more from them in their performance.
Massively.
And it's just like, when was the last time that they won? Did they win last week?
They're very up and down, it feels.
No, they lost 2-0 against West Ham. They won against Forest. They won against Arsenal. They won against Chelsea. Oh, well, actually, their form is okay.
They're completely up and down, though. It doesn't fully make sense.
Oh, well, they won in the EFL Cup. No, actually, they won the EFL Cup against Chelsea, but then they lost against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Then they lost against Brighton. 0-0, Newcastle. 1-1.
It's completely up and
City.
Down. And
yeah, it's
just check.
Yeah,
just see
fine.
what. I just want to see the starting 11 for Newcastle. Just see what was going through their heads. Because it's one of these. They're playing Joe Linton out wide. Whereas on the bench, they've got Harvey Barnes who they subbed on in the 22nd minute, don't get me wrong. But that was for Isak. You know what I mean? And then they've got Callum Wilson on the bench. I understand he's just came back from injury, but for me, they've got a lack of attacking options. Almiron has gotten older and he's fallen out of favour with the manager, clearly, because if not, he'd be starting. They've got Murphy on the bench. I'm sorry, man. When you're relying on Jacob friggin' Murphy, he is the most uninspiring and poor footballer I've ever seen. I hate him.
Whoa.
Like, genuinely, whoa. I know I've never mentioned this on the podcast before.
Whoa.
But I
feel that there's many more uninspiring footballers. But maybe you've been in England in the Premier League. I can
yeah, I've been blessed. I've maybe just been blessed, but I just watch it and I just think, based on the team he's at Newcastle, right? When they're doing well, they've been in the Champions League, they're there, they've solidified, they're trying to build up and everything. They bring Anthony Gordon off or Harvey Barnes off or even Almiron. They bring on Jacob Murphy and I'm just thinking, I'm like, because sometimes they do it because they're trying to find a different way through the line to break them and everything. I just watch it and I just think, I'm not being funny here, pal. What's going through your head to make you think that that's even possible with him? Like, he can't do anything. Like, if I see Jacob Murphy on the score sheet, I'm like, oh, wow, that must have been an easy match. Even if he gets an assist, I'm thinking, either he did like a friggin', what's it called? Sergio Busquets and just rolled it to somebody, and they did the rest. Or it's a miracle. I just think he's a very, very poor player, in my opinion. And I'm sorry if there's any Newcastle fans out there who disagree with me, but I couldn't care less. I think he's terrible.
You just showed everybody that you literally don't care about any of their opinions in this, like, 14 episodes of the podcast. It's just...
I don't care about their opinions, but if they're wrong, they're wrong. But I just think it's clearly shown that in this summer, I know they've got Isak, and they've got to be careful because he might go or whatever, but they need to do everything they can to buy a winger.
Yeah.
Because they're not starting Harvey Barnes because for some reason they just don't want to. So you need to buy another winger and they need to find it somewhere, anywhere, and you buy him, bring him in, splash a bit of cash if needs be. And in my opinion, you've seen what happened with the likes of Everton when it comes to breaking financial fair play. A little slap on the wrist, couple of points. I'll be real with you. I think that's a ridiculous thing based off of what Everton did, but they did it with other clubs too. And if it means a little slap on the wrist, I would break it. I'd break it to get a winger in who can get you 7 or 8 points. Yeah, lose a couple of points, but you still got him for the future now, haven't you?
Yeah.
In Newcastle's position, that's what I would do personally, because I know it's very tight with money there because of the situation they're in and all that sort of stuff, even with the owners they've got. So I just think, you know what, just screw it. Just break it if you want to. Get a winger in. From a Newcastle perspective, that would be my opinion. However, obviously, I think for the sporting integrity, they shouldn't do that. Perhaps they will have to sell a player or something like that.
Who would you sell then?
Callum Wilson or Alexander Isak. You've got to sell one of them.
Yeah, but why Isak? Oh, well, he's injured again now, isn't he?
Yep, that's why.
Fairs. Okay, yeah, I was going to say, like...
My reason for selling one of those two is they both just get injured 24/7. So you're going to realistically, right... I think because they're both unreliable, you need another striker in anyway. Look at what they had to do at points of this season. They had to have Gordon playing up top. So I think you sell one of those two, you're buying a striker and a winger with that money. Because Callum Wilson, he's a good player. I'll agree with you on that, right? He definitely is, and he can bring in a hefty penny. Isak will bring in a lot more, don't get me wrong. But... either way, you want to bring in another striker too who can
doesn't get injured every other week.
You can have in there week in, week out, and then maybe, let's say, under the level of even Callum Wilson, but can still perform well. Then you can have somebody else come in and do something. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know who I think they should get? Just came to me. Delap. They bring in Delap. Sell one of your other strikers.
I said that last week.
Did you?
And you said no.
Oh wow, yeah, I take it back. Yeah, I can't remember that at all.
I said it was gonna be Fulham or Newcastle, and you're like, no, because he needs to go to a different club.
The way I'd look at it is,
he will go to Brentford or Bournemouth.
I remember it now because I was saying, from the perspective of like, with how big those clubs are, they could go for someone bigger. Now, I'm agreeing with you because I'm coming from the perspective of. They also need a winger, so they can't splash cash out on another big striker.
Right. I was right. Admit it.
The test of time has proven that you are right.
I'm always right.
No.
99% of the time. Except when I said that Nottingham's going to be relegated, but it's a different story.
And when you said Aston Villa were going to make it into the top 4, but we'll move on. We'll go on. I think that's everything for that match, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I don't even know who to give this round of applause because, well, we'll just give it to Munoz.
Yeah, he scored the last minute equaliser. Well done to him. Obviously, defender. You can't give it to Gakey this time because he scored the own goal. But yeah, fair play. Some big matches coming up for Newcastle that they got to get more points. But moving on to the next match.
Forest, Ipswich. Not much to say. It was only a goal by
Chris Wood.
Brexit.
Penalty.
Yeah.
Mr. Brexit himself, even though he's from New Zealand. I don't know how it works, but it works.
It works, yeah. It's like Commonwealth.
Yeah, they've got the British flag in the corner.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Basically, same thing.
Baby Brexit.
Just crop the rest out. I'm joking, obviously. He's Chris Wood yet again. He's shown that he needs to start. Obviously, they struggled against Arsenal, but they struggled against Arsenal when they weren't playing him. You know what I mean? They played Anwai, and I think he's a great player, but Chris Wood's clearly in form. Why would you drop him? And it clearly hasn't worked out.
And you know that it's only a game against Ipswich, and they only won 1-0 with a penalty, but still 3 points are really important for a team of the caliber of Nottingham Forest.
They'll be the highest
they are
finishing
in
years.
Conference League.
Yeah,
like they haven't been in Europe for how long?
I don't know.
20,
most of their fans in a lifetime they wouldn't have been in Europe.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's huge for them.
It's really important for them. Let's not tell this to my in-laws because
they might get a bit feisty with you. But well done to Forest. They're doing really, really well.
And Ipswich probably. To be honest, they could have done a bit more.
It's expected from Ipswich. When they're playing their home matches, that's where their strength is. It's similar to Luton Town last year. Home matches, it's like a fortress. They play really well.
Did you see the Luton now?
They struggle to get it up.
Luton now is like mid-table.
I know. This is what happens sometimes.
How
because you lose your best players.
Yeah, Phil
Ross Barkley, he obviously went to Villa. You know what I mean? They had Sambi Lokonga, who was on loan there, and now he's on loan at Sevilla.
Crazy.
You lose your best players when you show up into the Premier League and you make some waves. So that's why you have to stay up, because you're going to lose them anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like you need the money of staying in the Prem, or
to actually buy other players that can keep the legacy going on. But yeah, we'll just give Wood a round of applause.
Yeah, he's been in great form. Why not?
Another big match with loads of goals, Bournemouth Wolves. So when we were starting to prepare for this podcast, Daniel was saying, I'm going to talk about these penalties, because 3 penalties in a game, crazy. Like, I don't think I remember watching a game with 3 penalties given to
the same team.
The same team, yeah.
Because sometimes it might be a bit of a back and forth, some dirty challenges going in there. But
three penalties is massive.
It's one of those, and I think the important thing is Gary O'Neill after the match, because I'm not going to come after Gary O'Neill, as everyone knows who watches the podcast. I freaking love him.
I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy you a real size Gary O'Neill.
Get me a little plushie.
No, like cardboard of Gary O'Neill, like.
No, I don't want that.
1-to-1 scale.
You can get me one.
And then we'll put him next to us on the podcast next year.
Nah, just get a little plushie and we'll put him on the sofa.
If Wolves gets relegated, which we hope they don't, we'll put Gary O'Neill with us in every single episode of the podcast. I think it will be hilarious.
We'll see. We'll debate what form Gary O'Neill would turn up in. I think
Gary O'Neill.
I think a plushie it makes more sense because it's easy on the sofa. You know what I mean?
You can cuddle with it. Yes.
No, but all jokes aside, after the match, he said he was frustrated with his players because they would be doing silly things. They were passing it around in stupid areas, which shows that, because a lot of the time you see the lower down teams like Southampton especially getting mocked for, why they passing it around at the back there. Gary O'Neill showing my philosophy ain't that. I'm telling them to use their freaking brain, and if they're getting pressed at left, right and centre, who fit long, son? Which they didn't do. And I mean, all 3 of those penalties were penalties. The first one was maybe a tad soft, or something like that.
But there still were
But
penalties.
All 3 are penalties, in my opinion. All 3 deservingly so, and they can only blame themselves because if it wasn't for those penalties, it's 2-1,
It's really,
and you win the match.
Yeah,
It's just stupid.
Yeah, again, I've never watched a match that had that many penalties for the same team. It's very like unusual.
And
so I mean, it's fair. Fantasy football, like people that have got.
If you have Jose Sarr in your team, you are feeling wounded because he's probably got -20 because he gave away both penalties, conceded 4 goals. He was crap. He got booked too because one of the challenges.
Why would you have Wolves keeper in your fantasy football anyway? That's my
maybe on the bench and then the other keeper's out. Maybe if you had Arsene and then Jose Sarr on the bench and you've not subbed him out yet. I don't know. But it's just one of those. I just look at it and I just think how stupid, because he's came out both times and he hasn't learnt from the first one, and he's just burying his team. But off of the negatives with Wolves, the positives, those 2 goals for Wolves were both really good.
And they keep showing it that when they actually score, their goals are banging goals.
And Larson,
I don't know what he.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Larson, did you see his finishes? They were great. And obviously this is without Cunha too, so they're showing we've got goals in us. We can score goals. It's about the defence, and it's just poor.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know.
It's one of those.
Something needs to change in the new year. I know that they can't buy any players at the moment, but if they can actually strengthen their defence, that'll be okay. They literally will be okay. They either need to do, like a new defending strategy, or I don't know. I don't think that they'll change the manager. I don't think that they will sack.
I think the main thing is when Mascara comes back, because he's that new centre back who they got. I'm pretty sure. Once he comes back in, I think they'll be a bit more better, because
more better. I don't know if that.
Sorry, a bit better. Okay.
Thank you.
And then obviously they've got some other players too who are out injured. They got a few, but I mean, the main one's Mascara, because he's obviously a centre back, so he would be looking to start for him. To be honest,
do you think that as soon as he comes back, they will start him? Or
it depends how desperate they are, because he's out with a knee injury, and you don't want to aggravate a knee injury.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to rest him and bring him back slowly. But
it's like
if they're desperate, they're gonna have to throw him in the deep end and just be like, "Please, we need you."
Yeah, but it's a very risky move.
It is, because it could ruin the player's career. But
I don't think that they will do it. I think that they will.
Look at Arsenal. Ben White played for an entire
year. Yeah, but Ben White is Ben White.
I know.
Like, you can't compare Ben White to Mascara. Like,
but he did play for a season and a bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of them.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't think that we can applaud anybody else other than Kluivert for this match.
No, I'm not applauding Kluivert.
You're not?
No.
Penalties. Yeah, but still 3
penalties.
goals. Like,
they were all penalties.
9 points on fantasy
they
football.
Were all penalties. I'm not giving a round of applause for bearing 3 penalties. Don't get me wrong, once it gets to 3, yes, that's a bit difficult because keeper's already seen 2, and it's like, what am I going to do here? It can get into your head. So for me, right, I would look at that team. Obviously, it's got to be one of the Bournemouth players who gets man of the match, undoubtedly. But I wouldn't give it to Kirkes. I'd give it to Evan Nielsen. He won, I think, a couple of the penalties because of his runs, his hold-up play, all that sort of jazz. So I'd personally give it to him over, because I think his build-up play was better. And if he didn't get fouled, he was going to be scoring the goals himself.
Let's do that then.
Yeah. So,
this is the exciting moment.
Take a deep breath.
Daniel was waiting for. West Ham Arsenal 2-5.
5-2 is what I like to call it.
Well, where were they playing?
Yeah, but you call it 5-2, you do the bigger number first. No matter where they're playing.
You are watching this podcast in the comments. How do you say it? 2-5 or 5-2? Please let us know.
If you say 2-5,
I will make a video about Syria.
We want as many subscribers as possible, but please unsubscribe if you say 2-5. I'm joking.
What the hell?
I'm joking.
No. Video about Syria.
Yeah, okay. If you say 2-5, enjoy a video Giorgio makes about the Serie A.
Yes. People will enjoy it, I promise you. Anyway. Mate, 7 goals in one The first half.
No, it wasn't. It was 6 goals in first half. I think the penalty was second half, wasn't it?
No, it was the first half.
Oh, right at the end.
Yeah.
See, that was the thing. I struggled to remember whether it was like at the start of the second half or at the end of the first. But yeah,
trust me.
I mean, I
was right.
I was so happy when it went to 4. I was trying to call Giorgio. I was giggling. I was like a little schoolgirl on prom night with Chad. You know what I mean? I was like, and I was just so happy and jubilant, to be honest. And I remember just being there and being like, oh, I cannot wait to see this smacking, because the commentators were even buying into it too. They're then like, oh, this is bad, because I think it was 3-0. And they're like, at this point last season it was 0-0, and we all know that how it ended, because we obviously beat them 6-0. I was like, please don't stop. I was wanting double digits, you know what I mean? At that point I was like, please, like, give us the biggest Premier League away win ever. I want to see it. And then obviously after the 4th, the Wan-Bissaka goal, I'm sorry, Leandro Trossard, what the hell are you doing? He just let Wan-Bissaka run. Don't get me wrong, Calafiori should have probably been more aware, you could argue. However, the way I looked at it is, Trossard's there marking him. Calafiori's obviously not going to watch a man somebody else is marking. He just lets him run through and take the shot. Wan-Bissaka's shown, obviously last week he scored his first goal for West Ham. He's shown that, yeah, he can place it a little bit if he gets that bit of space in the box. So don't give him the space, you muppet. You know what I mean? It's not very hard. And then obviously afterwards there was a bit of panic stations, because it was like, oh crap, let's not let it slip here. Because at the same time, Arsenal were getting a bit complacent, I'll be real with you, which is a huge worry in my opinion. Because especially at this point in the season, where we've already dropped points, and we need to basically be flawless till the end of the season, in my opinion.
That's a big word for your brain, flawless.
It's not a big word. I don't think so.
What does that mean?
It means perfect.
Well done. Let's give a round of applause to Daniel for it.
See, I don't know why.
Extend the vocabulary.
I don't know why he keeps on coming out and saying this. Every week I say this new big word. Yes, I am.
You got your A-levels.
Exactly.
Well done.
I'm a working man. What can I say? I like to work rather than university. But enough about me. More about Arsenal. So I was just looking at it and I was just thinking it's very dangerous, because obviously I think the key thing with Liverpool is last season they were 6 points ahead of Arsenal. I think 6 or 7 points at New Year. So it's one of those, we can let them get to that point as a maximum, because they've shown in the past that they've got the potential to drop points, especially with injuries and all that sort of stuff. So that could very much so happen again. So you've got to be prepared for if Liverpool do drop points.
I don't think they will, though. But that's another point. That's
another point. This is just a brief stopping. So we can't allow ourselves to drop points, especially from positions when we're 4-0 up. So it was one of those, we had to be very careful. And then, I'm sorry, the one thing I'll say is the referee this match, and I'll be completely honest about it, he was poor to Fulham. Fulham, not Fulham. Just because when I say it all together, it's Fulham. But not Fulham, West Ham. What am I talking about? It's the ham at the end. Oof, the wrong bit of ham in my sandwich.
I just didn't want to say anything,
but yeah, West Ham. It was just one of those. They were giving everything Arsenal's way, and then when it came to that foul for that free kick, I'm sorry, it's never a foul. He got the ball and then knocked the man. Yeah, but he cleanly got the ball first, and then it was his bit of his follow through. I'm sorry, mate. Grow up. You know what I mean? Get back up and carry on. But in that moment, obviously, it's still a free kick. You've still got to place it and place it well. And the finish was phenomenal. I'll be real with you. I would have been up on my feet, celebrating like mad if I was a West Ham supporter. But obviously, I support Arsenal, so I was in the dumps, and I was like, "Oh crap! Please don't tell me this is happening." And I was very scared. And because the thing is, when you're playing against a team like West Ham, and you're in that position of you've been so far ahead, and they score 2 in quick succession, not just 1 but 2. Their backs are up, they're ready to go. You've got to sit deep a little bit, and you've got to just take it for a moment. Take it. Because obviously they scored in the 40th minute. So you've got to sit back, take it for a tad, and then once you've absorbed the pressure, then you've got to go and try and do something. And obviously in doing so, we won a penalty. The second penalty of the match for Arsenal, which is another huge issue for West Ham. Because without those 2 penalties, it's what, 3-2?
3-2. Still,
which looks
still a win.
lot better. A lot better. It's still a win for Arsenal, but it looks a lot better for West Ham, and especially the position which Lopetegui's in. I know he wasn't on the touchline, but still he's the one working week in, week out, telling them what to do, how to do it.
The table right now is not looking good for them.
Very poor, very poor. They're 14th, you know what I mean, in the table at the moment. But
they're not going to get relegated. But.
Oh, no. But still, it's like,
yeah.
out of the people who aren't in the relegation race, it's clearly the worst. You know what I mean? So
I'm in danger.
It's just the way I look at it. I think it's only a matter of time before he gets sacked, to be honest, and that's a real shame. But it's, as I've mentioned several times, and West Ham fans, if you're watching this, please tell me what you think. My opinion is they've took too drastic of a shift between managers.
What do you mean?
David Moyes was a proper Brexit boy. You know what I mean? He was like, big Mikel Antonio up top. Who fit long, son? See what he can do. You got obviously good players like Jared Bowen, you know what I mean? And then you obviously got Lucas Paqueta, who've got a bit of flair in there too.
What did you call Paqueta?
Lucas Paqueta.
Paqueta.
You're Italian, not Brazilian. Let's move on.
I speak Portuguese though, so.
I speak Portuguese.
Because I am actually a cultured man. I go to university.
Ooh. And he takes student loans. He's taking from the government, from us.
And I'm an immigrant.
But obviously, all jokes aside, I look at it and I just say they've moved from that to try and go to Lopetegui. He's meant to be this more creative, free-flowing football type manager, and their transfer strategy was still similar. They brought in Wan-Bissaka. I think was a great signing for them. I think he's really good because he's just a proper defender. He can move forward a little bit, but he's not the greatest. Like, he wasn't good enough for Man United, but he's good enough for a West Ham, I believe. And then they brought in Fulkrug, who's just injured all the time, right? Which is just unfortunate.
Oh my gosh, were you the one that said?
It was me. Yeah, I was trying to go niche, but yeah, clearly absolute stinker.
Signing of the season. And then,
sorry, it was a stinker. I'll be real with you. But yeah, I just thought it was really poor, and it is what it is. But if you go from a Brexit manager to a free-flowing manager, you need the players, and I don't think they necessarily do in every position, especially in defence, because that's where they're lacking the most. Up front, they're still struggling because obviously they've not got the likes of Fulkrug. They're still playing with Mikel Antonio, who I don't think is very good.
He's mid.
Yeah,
he's got his moments where you're like, oh wow, he can actually score goals, and then for 3 matches he's like,
I agree with you. Like, he's a woman through menopause, hot flashes. You know what I mean? I'm not wrong, am I?
No.
And I actually think that's him summed up. It's sometimes he'll turn up and you'll be like, oh wow, he's doing quite well here. You know what I mean? And then it's just nothing.
And then just disappears. Yeah.
So that's why he's so good in like a David Moyes Brexit ball situation, because you can just 2 fit long and then he just takes it and he can hold it up and everything. But in a free flowing football system,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. And I mean, I was looking at when they were trying to pump it long. Every time they pumped it long, Arsenal just got it. And Fabianski, I'm sorry, he had a howler. 2 penalties against him. He didn't save one. I know it was 2 different players, but still, didn't save one of them. Even though that Saka penalty wasn't that good. Like, he should have saved it. He got a hand to it. He should have been able to stop it. I'm glad he didn't, but he should have. And he gave away a penalty. Terrible from Fabianski. Really, really poor. But can I just say how good Ødegaard is?
Oh my god!
He's not the player I'm going to clap, right? He's not the player I'm going to clap. I'm going to suggest somebody else.
You're not going to clap him?
It's going to be the other one who I'm going to suggest. Everyone knows who I mean by the other one. But Ødegaard was out.
Okay, second.
We struggled. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Giorgio. Right? No need to ruin it.
I said it.
He was gone for so long, and we were struggling, and we were playing Brexit ball, men behind the ball, you know what I mean? Gabriel it was 1-0 Gabriel or 2-0 Gabriel and Saka, you know what I mean? Who fit long, sit behind the ball, shut up shop, easy. And obviously we've shown we can do that, which I like, being able to do both. But with Ødegaard in the team, it's just liquid. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, like whenever I see him, like they're in the middle, in the midfield, it's just
for that Trossard goal, the flick
passing,
over the top.
It's just like It's like the whole time. Every time that you speak about it,
I literally just let out moans, man. Honestly,
what's an adjective that you would use to describe Odegaard? Flawless.
No.
Magnificent.
Orgasmic.
I wasn't going with like the specific kind of subjects.
No, I'm going to be completely real with you. There's a commentator who obviously commentated over Messi a lot.
I'm sorry for
Simply
the
magisterial from the Argentinian maestro, and he said it's.
I'm gonna Messi.
At one point he said it's simply orgasmic proportions on live commentary. And
who?
This guy called Ray Hudson. He would commentate over La Liga. It was just this Geordie man.
Nobody watches La Liga anyway. So.
No, but it was back in the day when it was like Messi, Ronaldo in the Liga, so people were watching because it was like Messi, Neymar, Suarez. But
now it's just
it's still a good league. Still a good league. That's what I'll say. But that's what I say for Odegaard. He's a player who, I've said this so many times that there's not loads of excitement. Like, he excites, man. Just what he does with the ball, the little flick over the top of players, just a little drag back, cutting back. You just watch it and you can't help but just moan a little bit. I saw this compilation on my way over here on my phone, just scrolling down on Instagram, and it was Odegaard doing all these things. I remember a distinct moment where I just let out like just the most fruity noise you've ever heard.
The Uber driver was like, "What the hell?"
No, I didn't do this in the car. I watched when it was live. I did it.
Okay.
It was a couple of seasons ago against Everton. Alex Iwobi and him are both sliding in for the ball. The ball's over Odegaard's side. And just like how my feet are now, he pulls out of the tackle and just touches it with the side of his foot. And he's just like this. He did a skill move slide tackle. And I was there like, huh? Who even thinks of that?
Him.
That's what I'm saying. It's beautiful. And it's like, it's actual art watching him play football. And that's what I love the most. It's like you look at it and you just see an artist at work. And that's phenomenal. And it's a privilege to be able to watch him in the Premier League. Genuinely.
It is a privilege to watch Odegaard playing in the Premier League.
Massively, massively so.
I
love it.
What I'm taking away from this podcast episode.
Hugely, hugely. But Bukayo Saka.
Let's give him the round of applause now.
No.
He wanted to talk about it before.
I want to briefly mention Bukayo Saka. It's like Bukayo Saka is just amazing. He's so good. You know what I mean? It's like
protege.
He's just, in my opinion, he has to be world class. We've already mentioned it. He's debatably the best right winger in the world. There's only two people in the debate, and we'll talk about the other one later on.
Okay.
Those two are the only people in debate for me for right wing. Nobody else. I'm not picking a single soul over anyone else.
Really?
Yeah. If anyone even mentions it, I'm saying, what are you flipping talking about, you stupid idiot?
You're talking about old time, or you're talking about just now?
Current, of course.
Okay.
Because obviously Messi, you know what I mean? Like,
I was gonna say,
I'm not saying he's second of all time behind Messi. I'm saying current. Like, if aliens come down to Earth and say you need to start an 11 because you're going to be playing against some aliens, there's only two right wingers in the conversation.
And he's an alien.
Start. No, he's not. He's not an alien proportion because that's like Messi. You know what I mean? But like, there's two right wingers who you pick, and both of them play in the Premier League. But that's why I'd give it to Saka.
Oh, who's the other one then?
We'll talk about him later. Don't you worry about it. We'll ring it round. Don't you worry. Okay. But that's why I'd give my round of applause to Saka. Obviously,
yeah, let's do it.
2 assists and a goal. Well done. And he won the penalty. But
looking at yesterday's football, because we're recording on a Monday. So.
Yeah, so obviously we won't be talking about any of the midweek games. We're going to cover the midweek games, which you've probably all seen by now. Know all the results. You'll know if I'll be crying or if I'll be happy. We'll cover those obviously with next week, so it'll be midweek and weekend.
Yep. So
I believe it starts off with Chelsea Villa.
Aston Villa. Yes. Oh.
Up the Villa.
Again, great performance from Chelsea. They just keep going, and it's like, oh man, the third now. They literally exact same points, exact goal difference as Arsenal.
We said it last week that Chelsea, it felt like they were tapering off a little bit, because I actually watched the start of the podcast before coming over here.
Oh,
and you suggested...
You rewatched the podcast? How considerate of you.
And you mentioned yourself, you said, I think Chelsea will get 3rd or 4th. And I said, whoa. 3rd is a bit far here. You're starting to win me over. I will say you definitely
This is the second time that it happens.
You're starting to win me over, definitely, because I'm looking at it, I'm saying, it looked like Chelsea were tapering off a little bit, and still...
You're learning.
And still, if they do get a couple of injuries, I still could see it going tits up for them.
Mate, if they get a couple of injuries, did you see how many players they bought in this summer?
Yes,
they are
specific
covered.
Players. I think if Caicedo gets injured, their midfield are screwed. If Palmer gets injured, their attack's screwed. You know what I mean? They've still got good players in there who can still score goals and win some matches, but... This is me still thinking potentially City could turn it around towards the end of the season. That's why I'm suggesting that. But at the moment, I'm thinking Chelsea, look at 3rd place. Really do.
Could they win it all? Or
No.
I wouldn't go that far. That's just a question.
Yeah, it's their first season at this level since quite a while. Obviously,
no, 2018, 19.
Yeah, but that's still like
4 years,
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's not been that bad.
No, it's like 6 years actually. It's 2018. We're in 2024. 6 years. True. Look at the team which they had back then compared to now.
Where's the time gone?
0 players in common. You know what I mean? Literally 0.
No, yeah.
So that's the reason why I would say I don't think that they can. But if I was them, I'd be trying to get your name on that title race. Try and get into it as much as you can, because
that's what I'm saying. Like,
because it's a good bit of experience for them, definitely. Because I mean,
imagine Palmer at his prime, like how good he will be. He's not at his prime now. But
we'll see. Because I'm not convinced his ceiling is as high as some people might think. Obviously, I think he's a phenomenal footballer, but I think he might be closer to his ceiling than some people would think. That's just my personal opinion, however. And obviously, coming from a Chelsea hater, I'll be completely honest.
Now, you hate Tottenham more than you hate Chelsea.
Oh, 100%, but I still hate Chelsea.
They're alright. Like, I don't have anything against them.
Yeah, you don't, but I'm an Arsenal supporter through and through.
The fact that you're wearing a AC Milan top, I don't know how I actually allowed you inside my house.
This is off topic, but do you want to know why I wore this shirt?
Go ahead.
Because you showed me the picture of 2 Inter Milan tops, God. So I thought I've got to balance it out here for any Italian fans.
No, you should have worn something out.
Because I had Arsenal shirts, I had a Messi shirt, and I was like, the Rossoneri.
I'm sorry, what?
The Rossoneri.
That is Palermo. Rossoneri is AC Milan.
Sorry, to all the English viewers out there, he said the exact same word as me.
Nope, but he said Rossoneri, yeah. Then said Rossoneri. It's different. But anyway, he's not cultured. I am. Go ahead.
But regardless, I think, yet again, I say this, I feel like every week, Enzo Maresca.
Well done.
What a job. What a job he's done.
And he's Italian.
Yeah.
I just like to bring up when somebody is Italian just to brag about my country, because it's the only good thing that my country has ever done. Anyway.
I just look at him and I just think, genuinely, he's came into that squad and Madueke last season.
Yeah, he just literally revolutionised.
I said at the start of the season, I said I thought Madueke is actually a decent player, and at that time, that was such an unpopular opinion to have. Though Chelsea fans were done with him. Everyone was like, he's mid.
I agree with you.
I know. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in the general consensus. But he's looking like a different player, and that's because Maresca's came in and he's given the players confidence. He said, you know what? We've got a huge squad here. People I don't want, you're gone. Everyone else, I'm focusing on you. And focusing on people like Jadon Sancho. I'm sorry, I saw him during that match, and I don't know who got my actual man of the match, but he was phenomenal.
Would you give him the round of applause? Because I would give it to Palmer.
Every week, I wouldn't even give it to Palmer, to be honest. I saw Jadon Sancho on the ball, and he was there. He was driving in field. He was making passes. He was making movement. And I just saw it, and I saw, potentially, is there any chance we can get up a heat map of Chelsea in that match, please, to see where the ball was played? It's not really a heat map, that's just shots, isn't it?
No, there's no heat map, sorry.
Because if there was a heat map, I'd be borderline put my money on saying it was all down the left. Well, a lot of the match, which I saw at least, was down the left, and I think that's because Sancho was there. You know what I mean? Like, let me have a look. Let me have a little gander. Obviously, Sancho got hooked off towards the end of the match for Madueke, but that's what's going to happen when you've just came back from being ill and everything and match fitness they're trying to preserve or whatever. But
oh my gosh, you make it sound like it's terrible, but actually it's quite smart.
Sancho got such a low rating. Oh, this is weird, man. The eye test is very different to everything else.
Just don't look at the stats. Just look at what you think about it. Because this is your opinion.
He was such a creative player in that match. He didn't create full-blown opportunities, but he would get the ball, drive, and pass it off. One player who I just want to say I think is getting a bit overrated at the moment, so I need to mention this and bring it up. Enzo Fernandez. He is, in my opinion, at the moment, based off of current form, the most overrated player that I'm seeing.
Even more than Cucurella?
Because Cucurella's shown he's good. He showed he was good at Brighton.
He's alright.
He showed he was good at Brighton.
I
hate him too, right? I hope nothing but the worst for him. But he's shown he was good at Chelsea.
I hope he starts losing his hair.
He's shown he's good at Chelsea now. He's shown he's good at, at Brighton. He's shown he's good for Spain. So clearly he's just a good player. With Enzo Fernandez, I look at him and I see the sort of player he is and the movement he makes. I'm sorry. If I am Chelsea and I'm looking for a position to strengthen, it's his position. I don't understand how he is the captain of that football club. I would take the armband off him.
Maybe he's got the leadership qualities that... it's not show, don't tell. It's tell, don't show.
How?
Tell, don't show. Like
all of the black Chelsea players, which is basically 90% of the team, right? All kicked off at him for making racist remarks about France.
Yeah, but
there's no leader in that team.
There's no but.
You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say, maybe he shows it in a different way, as in knowledge about football rather than racism, because racism
But I just look at it and I just think I just don't think he's very good whatsoever. And I think, genuinely, from the positions he finds himself in, score goals, I don't look at him and think, oh, wow, that's spectacular. I just think, yeah, like, you get a midfielder in that position who you could easy upgrade, especially if you're Chelsea and you spend as much money as Chelsea does. Easily just find an upgrade. Bring in freaking Scott McTominay if you want. You know what I mean?
Leave him in Italy, mate.
He's playing phenomenally.
He's doing a phenomenal job there.
Just bring in whoever you want. Bring in friggin' Barella. Bring in
hey,
Chanaloglu. Bring in whoever you want.
Chanaloglu is fine. Like he's only gonna have one more year.
And he'll be better than Enzo Fernandez. But it is Enzo Fernandez.
We're talking about him.
Yeah, I got confused because obviously it's Enzo Maresca, then there's Bruno Fernandes, and it's all just like too many
Fernandes and Enzo.
Fernando and but I just look at it, I just think he's just an uninspiring midfielder. But that's my personal opinion.
Man of the match, round of applause.
I would give it to Sancho.
I would give it to Palmer.
I'll give it to Palmer then, because he scored the goal and he got the highest match rating or whatever. But
he got an assist
Jadon Sancho, take a bow, son. You're playing well.
Man United, Everton. I just go straight into it. 4 goals. Everton is going down. That's my opinion.
So you think, and I just want to say this out loud.
I'm not even celebrating the fact that Man United won.
Are Everton worse than Leicester?
Maybe.
Are they worse than Palace?
Yes.
Are they worse than Wolves?
They can be.
Are they worse than Ipswich?
No.
Are they worse than Southampton?
No.
So, for them to be in the relegation zone, they have to be worse than 3 of those teams. And you've only said that one of them is yes and one of them is maybe.
What do you mean? I said about...
You said Leicester, no. You said...
No, I didn't say no. I said maybe.
Okay, so you got one maybe. Crystal Palace was that the yes?
I said yes.
And then Wolves was potentially.
If the streak keeps going like that for Wolves, then Wolves is going down. Oh,
that's me. Yeah, it's from me.
Wolves is going down, but if actually Wolves gets back into their feet, then yeah, Everton is going down. Look at their matches. Like, when was the last time that they won?
Let me check for you. Let me. Let me pull it up, Jamie. So they've been getting a lot of draws recently. They drew against Brentford, West Ham. The last one was against Ipswich. It was 2-0, but they drew against Fulham. They drew against Newcastle. They beat Palace, and then the rest are all draws, really. They've got 2 wins, and then the rest are draws and losses.
That's what I'm saying.
Look at the other teams which you're talking about in that zone too. What's it called? Leicester has 2 wins. They have 1 less draw. Palace have less wins, 1 more draw. You know what I mean? Like, and then Wolves have same wins, 2 less draws. So don't get me wrong, it's close, but I think
it's gonna be
playing
tight.
against
It's gonna be tight, but
playing against new manager bounce, Man United at Old Trafford, it's gonna be rough. It's going to be very difficult. And you look at it and you see Rashford's playing. The main thing I'd be saying for them is Xerxes scored. You know what I mean? Like, that's the issue for me. It's like, okay, Rashford scoring, yeah, he's shown he can be amazing.
Yeah, I've always liked Rashford as a player. Like, since he started to play for Manchester United, I'm like,
I swear last week you said, is he good enough? I could be tripping balls here,
no,
but I swear.
Tripping.
Okay. Because if you haven't realised, I don't just talk about football on this podcast. I talk about it with pretty much every single person I speak with. So I get confused about who I've had conversations with and who
I was talking about Dele Alli last week for some
reason. Dele Alli.
What a wasted player, man.
He's so overrated now. People see Dele Alli being on Bellingham's level now.
Nah, man.
Because I've seen this so many times. I'm sorry, this is a complete tangent. I've seen so many people say, "Oh, but he was the Bellingham before Bellingham." No, he wasn't.
No,
he wasn't as good. If he was as good as Bellingham was, he'd be playing at Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly. The fact is, I never really liked Dele Alli. That's probably what we were talking about. And I said he was good, right? He had so much potential, but he wasted it all.
Massively.
For what? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll? I don't know.
No, I just think it's one of those. Sometimes, obviously, he's spoken about his past traumas.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe...
Well, he spoke about past traumas, all that sort of stuff. Those things do catch up with you, unfortunately, especially if you don't know how to cope with it properly. And I think that might be the category he fell into, very sadly, if that is the reason why. But also, there was difficulties with him engaging properly. Obviously, we all saw what Jose Mourinho was saying to him when he first came into his first training session. He said, Dele Alli... Well, he called Dele Alli to him. He said, "Are you Dele Alli or are you Dele Alli's brother?" And he was like, "I'm Dele Alli." And he was like, "Then play like him." So
I love Mourinho. He's my favourite manager of all time.
It's one of those, it's like, there were signs there of him maybe not putting the work in and maybe needing more of how Enzo Maresca is with players, more of the arm around him, like Jadon Sancho.
He might have needed like a better mentor. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe more of a gentler hand to guide him, unlike Jose Mourinho, who is more of just...
Bam!
You just slap around the head. Do that. Why aren't you doing it? Bit rough, but...
I don't know if I sent you this video. I watched a video a couple of days ago of Mourinho coaching Zlatan Ibrahimovic when they were playing for Inter Milan. And Ibrahimovic was like getting tired because he had gone out the night before and they were playing in Champions League. And he was faking to be injured so that he could go out. And Mourinho was like, "Hell no, I'm not going to let you out." Then Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored. And he was like, "I can go out now." And then, do you know what he did?
What?
He subbed off the keeper just because, why not? Just to play with his head. It was so funny. Yeah. I love Mourinho. But anyway, let's keep talking about Manchester United.
Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, he's showing that the system works. Obviously, this is against a really struggling Everton. So, any Man United fan I've already seen stuff of them being like, "We are so back," and everything. It's like, it's 4-0 against Everton. Everton, who are in a relegation battle. Calm your tits.
Repeat that. They are in a what?
Relegation battle.
Oh, okay.
They're not getting relegated, in my opinion, but they're in the battle.
A battle, there's always a 50-50 chance that you'll win or lose. And I think that they will lose. But anyway.
There's not always a 50-50, but there's always a chance that you lose. I'll agree with you on that.
Win or lose, 50-50.
No.
If you're in a battle, you either lose or you...
Okay, if somebody's trying to fight me with their bare fist and I've got a gun, is that a 50-50 battle? No, it's about a 99% battle in case my gun jams.
What if you...
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying.
What if you just, like, knock the gun off their hands, like... Pum.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're more likely that the person's going to shoot you before you do that. There's still a chance that you might win, but it's not 50-50. Just because there's 2 options doesn't mean that's the percentage chance for both.
Anyway.
But what I would say is this system clearly has some merit, and there can be some sort of good performances in there, definitely. I mean, my main thing would be still De Ligt obviously didn't get a very good match rating. It wasn't shown on TV, so I didn't see the whole match with De Ligt and his performance or whatever, but he got a poor rating. And obviously, he got replaced by Harry Maguire, who didn't do too much better. But
does he still exist?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I completely forget about the existence of Maguire because he just disappeared off the face of the wall for me. Like, I just never really think about
since they brought in De Ligt is basically a slightly better version of Maguire at the moment. And that's a real
slightly,
insult.
but not even like, I don't know. They're very different players.
No, in this Man United system, if you've seen them play, they're both not very fast at the moment somehow. They're
but
both
De Ligt has never
sloppy.
been fast. De Ligt has never been fast. So why do you think Juventus...
Neither's Maguire.
Never mind. I was going to say, De Ligt was bought by Juventus and they sold him so quickly. He only played there for like a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll sell him to Bayern Munich. Great deal. No. Poor Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
He's got scammed.
They got rid of him soon too. But it's one of those, it's like, I look at that Man United team and genuinely, if they got Mazraoui, who I think is a good player, I'll be real with you, I think that's probably their best signing. Bruno Fernandes obviously played well in this match, but I think he's trouble. Amad Diallo, he's playing well in this new system. Obviously, that's in 2 Premier League matches, he's got 3 assists under Ruben Amorim. Well done. This is exactly what a young player should be doing, and I know he got man of the match, but I want him to be the round of applause anyway.
Sure, let's do that.
And my reasoning is, when you're a young player trying to break through a huge team like Man United, and
there's a lot of pressure that
your
builds
team's
up.
poor, there's pressure that builds up. A new manager just came in with a new system. Amad Diallo is a winger. He wants to be scoring goals, but he knows there's a position available at wing back where he can just get regular minutes and contribute to the team. Regardless of the position, he knows, hey, I'm going to make this friggin' position mine and I'm going to own this. And he did that, and I have to say, well friggin' done. Because that is a great thing. There's so many players who you see come into teams and they have a chance at a position and they ruin it. A great example, Eddie Nketiah at Arsenal. When Lacazette was crap, Aubameyang had gone, we needed a striker to score goals, he came in and he wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? It was his chance, his opportunity. So really, really big well done to Amad Diallo. I think he's the round of applause.
Let's do it.
Next match, Tottenham, Fulham.
Very, very briefly.
Tottenham, crap.
Just Tottenham. Why? Like, last week you scored 4, like you won 4-0. And this week you just draw against Fulham.
It is the history of Tottenham.
It's just, I don't understand. My mind cannot physically understand.
And bear in mind, this is a 10-man.
When was it? When did he get the red card?
I can't remember, but it was just after the goal, I think.
Wait.
I think it was during the celebration.
No, the 83rd, so right at the end of the...
But still, if you're Tottenham playing against them and they go down to 10 men, even for that brief amount of time, it's their captain. This isn't just a random play. This is their captain who got sent off. You have to say, we've got a chance here. You're a dog. You've got the bit in your mouth. Chase after it, son. But this is Tottenham, week in, week out. We know what's going to happen.
I honestly do not understand.
It's the history of Tottenham.
But it doesn't matter.
They played
it doesn't
against
matter the history. For me, it's just like you have it there.
It's the culture. It's the culture of the club, and that's the huge thing. And that's what you have to change, and that's why it's so difficult. The culture of Tottenham is they go up against a City or Liverpool and they can play really well. They go up against a team who's struggling and they will be crap. Obviously, Fulham aren't really struggling too much at the moment. They're still doing well. But if they played up against Wolves, I wouldn't have been surprised if Wolves would have beat them at the weekend. Genuinely, because that's Tottenham all over.
I just don't want to spend too much time on them, to be honest. It makes me really frustrated on how crap they are.
I don't think we give anyone a round of applause personally.
Cool.
So we just realised that this episode was zoomed in for some reason. unfortunately, that's just the way the most of the episode's going to be now. It is what it is.
But yeah, we're probably just going to spend the literally last 2 minutes.
Yeah, we realised it right at the end, which is lovely. And it happened right towards the start. But it is what it is. This is just what we learn sometimes. Yeah. But we're on to the final match. Liverpool, Man City, 2-0. Mo Salah. He's the other right winger I was mentioning in the debate for the best right winger in the world. A lot of people might say Mo Salah's just better, but I think they both add different things to the table. Obviously, this is with me being somewhat biased and a deluded Arsenal supporter. But I look at it and I think Saka had something different. And my prime example would be the first goal which Arsenal scored against West Ham. The ball goes over the top and Saka passes it instead of shooting. I think Salah shoots. I think Salah also probably does score.
Yeah, he does score. A penalty, but...
No, but I mean, if he was in that exact same position as Saka, I think he still scores, but they're two different players. I think Saka knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses. Same with Salah, obviously, he's still in his prime, it's looking like. But they're both phenomenal players, and I still respect both of them to the max. Yeah.
Man City was just showing that they're really... I don't know what's wrong. I really don't know what's wrong. Is it the end of Pep? It's only 6 matches that they have lost in a row.
That's a big question.
But, you know, like, when you think about it, maybe it's a phase, but 6 matches in a row, and they drew 3-3 against Feyenoord.
Yep. They've lost 6 out of 7. They're 7 matches winless.
Exactly. It's not looking good, especially because he just literally... You know what? Pep renewed his contract, and the match after he renewed his contract, they lost, and it started that.
Yeah, it started the downfall then. And I mean, maybe he's getting a payday before he gets sacked. Some people are saying as a joke. Obviously, I very much so disagree with that. But for me, I just look at it and I think Pep's clearly struggling, and this just happens sometimes. He's lost his best player, and I watched this very interesting analysis of why the defensive midfield is the most important position in modern day football. Since the time of Johan Cruyff, he brought in a midfielder who's essentially able to move the ball up and down the pitch, essentially, and that's what the holding midfielder does. He's the most important player in a fluid, complete football system, which Pep tries to imitate. In so much that Pep is that player who Johan Cruyff brought in to do it for his team.
Yeah.
And Pep, in every team he goes to, it's
just a legacy.
It's what he prioritises, that holding midfielder. It's the most important player in a Pep team. So it's what happens. And I mean, a lot of people might say, oh yeah, but your team should be stronger than just losing one key player. I completely disagree. I think every single team has that player who, if they get injured, you're screwed. It's what happens.
But anyway, I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know. Imagine if he keeps
it lasts forever.
losing.
I'm seeing all the memes. Pep had the 1 and then the 5 up on one end, obviously saying he's won 6 leagues. I saw somebody put another 1 at the side of it and he said, oh, look, because 115, because the charges of City. I've seen people say, oh, yeah, it's nice that he's showing how many Champions League Liverpool's won. He's lost it completely. He's lost his head. But the way I look at it is I think there's a lot of stress on Pep's head, and it's getting to the point where I think it might be a bit too much for him, and he needs to look at that and really assess it, because he's in a tough position. He needs to look what's best for him. And if it is getting too stressful, he might need to just find a way to remove a bit of pressure. But to Haaland, stay humble, eh?
I love Haaland, but at this point, I'm just like...
I hate him.
Come on, man.
It's deserved.
Stay humble.
Deserved. It's completely deserved. And I'm loving every second of Haaland's downfall. Wrong? The thing is with Haaland, right? If he's not in your league and he's not playing against your team, you love him. But as soon as that happens, you hate him. Because he's an absolute arsehole.
Yeah, I still remember the Champions League final.
Yeah. He's a huge arsehole as soon as he comes up against your team. If he's not, it's like, oh yeah, he's lovely. Oh, he messes about other teams. Oh, it's funny. It's nice to watch. No, as soon as he comes to your team, you hate him.
He looks like one of our friends. I don't know if I've ever told you, but he looks like Malta. Malta, if you're looking at this podcast.
Malta, if you're a supportive friend and watching it. I don't know, maybe if Malta had like a smaller like face but a bigger head. You know what I mean? Because
Malta's got a massive head.
No, but I mean, but his facial features are in proportion to it, whereas Haaland's
he
all like
reminds
shrunk.
me of him. It's not.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who are we giving the round of applause this week?
It has to be Mo Salah.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, Trent Alexander-Arnold, well done,
Real Madrid is waiting for you, man.
He played phenomenally. The way he passed the ball and his defensive output. This is something which goes so under the radar. And Liverpool fans will say, oh, well, he's always been like this. No, he hasn't. Shut your mug, you liars, right? Trent has never been this good at defending, and he's showing he can properly defend. Well done, Trent.
Well done.
He kept people in his pocket. He was just dominating. Obviously, once Doku came on, he struggled a little bit, but then he got subbed off because, hey, he's coming back from injury. These are things which happen. But the balls he was putting in, ridiculous. But Mo Salah has to be man of the match.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you so much again for watching this podcast. Please like, subscribe, tell everybody about it, and we'll see you next week. Have a good rest of your week. Enjoy the matches.
And next episode's going to be a longer one, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Double trouble. Whew.
Yeah.
Double matches.
Good night, guys.
Au revoir.